St. Charles, Missouri is where we are for this video, located along the Missouri River in suburban St. Louis, about 25 miles northwest from downtown. St. Charles has become quite the thriving city over the years. St. Charles also shows one of the nicest efforts in preserving its history that I've ever seen so far in my travels across the country. I visited St. Charles on a cloudy day back in the fall of 2021. We'll be jumping around to different parts of town throughout this video, but first, we start in the Newtown area, or I guess it's officially called Newtown at St. Charles. This is a suburban development that has tried to shatter the mold of being just another new suburban development out in the suburbs. As we head on through, you'll see that Newtown has a really nice design and feel to it, with retention ponds being designed in a way that makes them look like canals. I guess what the designers were really going for was resembling the area's geographical significance, with the Missouri and Mississippi rivers being nearby. Now, I don't know if I think of the Mississippi and Missouri rivers when looking at these canals, but it's a nice look nonetheless. This neighborhood has great character to it, and it comes close to resembling the historic and preserved neighborhoods that we see in larger cities. The homes in Newtown look to be more customized and unique, rather than what we see in your typical suburban neighborhood where the HOA is ran by Karens who want every house to look the exact same. The monument here adds a nice touch as well. Another thing that makes this neighborhood work is that there is plenty of open spaces throughout the neighborhood that offer more than just open grass and maybe a set of swings for kids. When you look around, it just feels like a nice place to be. It's also a nice complement to historic downtown St. Charles, which we'll see shortly, and once we do, you'll be able to connect the dots even better. What's also nice about this neighborhood is that it's not just made up of homes. You also have shops, restaurants, and doctor's offices. Newtown is a rather large development that isn't quite done being built yet. The neighborhood first started to be developed in the early 2000s, taking the place of what used to be farm fields. I feel like this neighborhood is something that more suburban cities should try to replicate across this country. So many people complain about needing to hop in your car to go anywhere as their neighborhoods aren't walkable. Well, here, you have a neighborhood that's walkable. You can go for a walk and access several different amenities, as there's quite a bit of commercial space throughout this neighborhood. I continued driving through Newtown for several more minutes, and to see all of the footage that I captured but didn't use in this video, make sure to check out my second channel called Chris Harden's Travel Archives, as I'll have a separate video uploaded on that channel showing more of what the city of St. Charles looks like. Once that video is uploaded, I'll have the link for it down below. For now, we're going to jump into a portal and check out historic downtown St. Charles. Currently, we're heading south on Highway 94 from the 370 freeway as we're about to enter historic downtown St. Charles. With that said, let's talk about what makes St. Charles so historic. Way back in 1769, the city was founded under the name of Les Petites Côtes, which is Little Hills in French. The city was founded by French-Canadian fur trader Louis Blanchet. However, since the Spanish government was in control of this land between 1762 to 1800, this town soon became known as San Carlos Borromeo. During this era, St. Charles was an important trading center for pioneers who were heading west into the Louisiana Purchase. On to the next era of the St. Charles history timeline, as in 1804, Lewis and Clark met along the Missouri River in modern-day St. Charles to begin their journey heading west, and shortly after that, the city was known as its current name of St. Charles. Lewis and Clark were ordered to go on this journey by then-President Thomas Jefferson, who had recently bought the Louisiana Purchase from the French. At that time, the Louisiana Purchase was a huge chunk of unexplored land, so it needed to be explored, and who better to choose at the time than Lewis and Clark? And where better to start than in modern-day St. Charles, Missouri? Now, before I move on, I want to mention that there are multiple cities that claim to be the starting point for the Lewis and Clark expedition. And if you ask me, it's a really funny argument to have, and some of these places will get really defensive about arguing that they are the starting points for the Lewis and Clark expedition. They will raise their fist in the air and they will argue you to death. Some of those places being Wood River, Illinois, Clarksville, Indiana, and even Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I made a video on Clarksville, Indiana mocking that in a separate video from a year ago or so that I made. However, I believe that St. Charles wins the debate, as everything east of here was land that was already explored and land that was already owned by the United States, whereas everything west of St. Charles was land that had yet to be explored. And that was the whole point of the Lewis and Clark expedition, to explore unknown territory that was a part of the Louisiana Purchase. Also, St. Charles was the meeting point for Lewis and Clark to begin their journey heading west. So yes, I believe that St. Charles wins that debate. You can start to see many of the historic buildings that make up the downtown St. Charles area. Anyway, Lewis and Clark weren't the only famous pioneers from that era with ties to St. Charles, as Daniel Boone has some roots here as well. Boone built a homestead nearby, and he also paved the way for the Boone's Lick Road, which began in St. Charles and headed west before ending in the town of Franklin, Missouri. Boone's Lick Road might not be that well known, but it's significant because as the trail ended in Franklin, the Santa Fe Trail picked up and continued southwest towards Santa Fe, New Mexico. Boone's Lick Road also headed towards the direction to the start of the Oregon Trail, which heads northwest from Kansas City all the way to Portland, Oregon. So yes, westward expansion plays a huge role in not only the history of St. Charles, but in the history for the entire St. Louis area. Hence, the nickname for St. Louis, the gateway to the West. To the right here is the Academy of the Sacred Heart, which is a private Catholic institution that began in 1818. Anyway, there's more history to St. Charles, as Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable, who is credited as being the first settler of Chicago, lived his final years living in St. Charles before passing away in 1818. Most locals know that St. Charles was the first state capital of Missouri, but that only lasted from 1821 to 1826, and while the capital was in St. Charles, a more permanent capital city was being developed in Jefferson City. Shortly, I'm going to drive past the first capital site, as today it's open to the public and it's one of the biggest attractions in town. It's also important to say that in the mid-19th century, St. Charles saw a huge wave of new German settlers, making St. Charles quite the diverse community. German settlers eventually became the largest ethnic group in town, and it can be seen throughout the architecture of the buildings, despite the strong French roots. And to the right is the site of Missouri's first state capital. We'll drive by the front of it on Main Street later in the video. To the left is Frontier Park, where there's the Katy Depot, which was the train station in town. It was completed in 1893, and over the years, the town was able to preserve it by relocating it to its current spot. Just past it is a bronze statue of Lewis and Clark. Also at the park is the Lewis and Clark Boathouse and Museum, which seems like a nice place to see if you're a museum person. Lastly, held at Frontier Park is the annual festival of the Little Hills, with the name paying tribute to the original French name of the town. The festival is basically an art show that brings many people into town every year in August. And soon we're about to drive down the historic Main Street and see what that's all about, as it's full of preserved historic buildings. The street is made of bricks as well, and it's pretty uneven to drive on, but it all adds to the vibes of historic downtown St. Charles. To the right here is the Main Street side of where the first capital of Missouri was, as earlier I showed the side from Riverside Drive. Throughout the 20th century, residents of St. Charles have always wanted to preserve its rich historical roots, and those efforts from the community over the years have left us with this special and unique town that we see here today. And with St. Charles being in the middle of suburban chaos, it's nice to have a historic downtown area to spend some time in. They say that as many as 1 million visitors come to St. Charles every year, and I would guess that most of the visitors are from the greater St. Louis area, but the reason why so many people come here is because you don't see downtown areas like this in many other places throughout the St. Louis region. The first building that you saw there was the old post office. This building is, you know what, I'm not sure, but the third building is the old city hall. And as we make our way towards St. Charles High School, we get another view of the Academy of the Sacred Heart, which once again was founded in 1818. This is St. Charles High School, which was established back in 1899. Niche.com rates the school as a B, so that's better than most. The athletic teams go by the Pirates, and among the most notable alumni includes sports broadcaster on the MLB Network, Greg Amsinger. And now I'm going to head over towards Lindenwood University, which was founded back in 1832. It's a nice compliment to the rest of the town to have a university such as Lindenwood. The athletic teams go by the Lions and compete at the NCAA Division I level, and among the most notable alumni includes Greg Amsinger, just as with St. Charles High School, but also fellow sportscaster Dan McLaughlin, actor Lee Daniels, fashion designer Nell Donnelly-Reed, NHL player Daniel Wolcott, Miss USA 2004 Shandy Finnessy, and Taylor Swift's grandma, Marjorie Finlay. How about that? Granny Swift. Now I'm heading towards the Ameristar Casino, which is just south of the historic downtown. The casino opened in 1993 as Station Casino St. Charles. In 2000, Ameristar bought the casino, and it's been named that ever since. Since I haven't yet talked about the economic stats for St. Charles, I might as well do it now, as over the years, St. Charles has grown to be one of the larger suburbs of St. Louis. And I'm sure there's a crowd in here that's angry over me calling St. Charles a St. Louis suburb, as if calling St. Charles a suburb means that it doesn't have its own identity or some kind of silly crap like that. But when I say that St. Charles is a St. Louis suburb, it's not a diss, as some of you might take it. Usually I'll call a city a suburb when the growth that it sees is largely attributed towards being in close proximity to a separate, larger city. And if St. Louis weren't such a large city, then St. Charles probably wouldn't be near as big as it is today. And it certainly wouldn't be near as wealthy, as there wouldn't be as many high-paying jobs in the area. So if you're angry with me calling St. Charles a St. Louis suburb, at least we can agree that St. Charles would not be near as big as it is if it weren't in such close proximity to the much larger St. Louis. And over the years, as suburbanization has become a trend, St. Charles has been able to grow because of that. With the good old suburb and not suburb debate settled, here you can see the population history for both St. Charles City and St. Charles County. Today, St. Charles is home to just over 70,000 people, and the median household income is $75,000 per year. 42% of adults 25 and older hold a bachelor's degree or higher, and the median value of owner-occupied housing units is $226,000, while the poverty rate is 6%. Those numbers are actually pretty good, but it's slightly lower in economic prosperity than what you see across St. Charles County on average, as you can see the county stats right next to those for the city. St. Charles County also happens to be the richest county in all of Missouri when going off of median household income, which is typical for counties right outside of major cities, such as St. Charles County is to St. Louis. When it comes to the crime rates, St. Charles is a very safe community. Niche.com gives the public schools an A-, so that's really good. And Area Vibes gives St. Charles a livability score of 84 out of 100, so that's all good and dandy. Although, if I was on staff for Area Vibes, I would give St. Charles a 95 out of 100. Anyway, all in all, St. Charles is a fantastic city to live in, and it helps that there's a unique downtown area to explore, which is something that most suburbs don't have anything close to resembling. And to the left here is what is called the Family Arena, which can seat up to around 10,000 people for most events. The arena opened in 1999 and is often used for sporting events. Sometimes it's used for concerts, but it's a lot of minor league basketball, football, hockey, and some wrestling here and there, so things like that. The last thing that I show in this video is St. Charles West High School, home of the Warriors. Among the most notable alumni is comedian Tim Hawkins. Niche.com gives St. Charles West an A-, so that's pretty good. Well, there's a lot of St. Charles that I saw but I didn't show in this video, so to see a video of all of the extra footage that I captured but didn't use in this video, make sure to check out my second channel called Chris Harden's Travel Archives, and once the video is uploaded on that channel, I'll have the link for it down below. In this video, you saw how St. Charles, Missouri is a very unique town. It's almost as if you're living in history when you're on Main Street. Hopefully it can stay this way for years to come, and honestly, I don't see why it won't. With that said, I do end the video here. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to drop a like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already, as doing all of those things helps these videos destroy the evil monster that is the YouTube algorithm. Also, make sure to hit that notification bell and select yes so that you can be notified every time that I upload a new video. If you enjoyed this video, then you might enjoy checking out some of the featured playlists on this channel. Videos with amazing insights on other places like what you saw here can be found in my St. Louis Suburbs playlist or in my Missouri playlist. Last but not least, if you can't get enough of me on here, you can always go follow me on my other social media accounts, and those links are below. We'll see you next time. Peace.